Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome again. Member Citizens absent. New business agenda. Everyone's here for to discuss what found Scott Flash, those fire police that is within the development of this. So, we want questions.
We can. I know that most of the folks here have been here before, but if you have any new questions or any questions at all about where the money will be used and what it will be used for, the chief or I will do our best to answer those questions. I do want to say again, elected officials and township employees are limited in what we can provide in the way of election information. We can provide you with factual information. We can't encourage you one way or the other to vote for or against them on or any type of levy. So all we can do is give you facts and figures. We can't promote anything. So if our answers sound bland, it's because that's the current state law. The Board of Trustees has a campaign guidance update for local governments from the Ohio Township Association, prepared by the law firm Picker and Grader. And we're going to do our best to make sure that we don't violate any of the other states' recommendations on voting things. So I apologize if it seems like we're being generic, and we have to. So with that, I'd be glad to try to answer any questions that you have. That might be good. Sorry, so right now for Miami Township, our current levies bring in $1,776,000 and $776,850. Part of that is a 5-year, 3.5 mil levy that is expiring this year, and we are asking residents for their blessing to renew that levy, and we're asking for an additional 3 bills along with that renewal. So we have an old continuing levy that brings in $858,560. The 5-year levy will bring in $918,290. That will be a renewal. And the new levy will bring in an additional $1,023,000, bringing in a total of levy income to the township of $2,799,850. Of our levy income, we contract with 3 villages that are located here in our townships, and we are asking them to renew or continue the current payment that they have, and also asking them for the equivalent of 2 mils in new funding. So, assuming that they would put those levies on and pass that or pay for it in some other way, we'd be looking for $73,104 for the village of Addison. From the village of Pleas, we're asking for $411,794. And from the village of North Bend, $287,125. That brings the total for the villages to $772,023. So in levy funds only, the township contributes 78% of the levy income to fund our fire department. Villages contribute 22%. Now, the township actually spends about, our estimate for 2025 is our total employee cost will be $4,372,505. So our levy income will not pay our salary and benefits even. We have TIF funds here in the township because the trustees back in the day were wise and forward-thinking enough to TIF most of the entire township. Paul, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
You got incorporated.
And incorporated it, not the village, you're correct. So what we actually spend in, missing that page. What we actually spend, Matt, do you have that total budget? We need to run and grab that. Total budget for, oh, I have it. Total fire department expenses projected for 2025 will be $5,472,505,000. So our employee costs in 2025 we expect to be $4,372,505. But as you can see, we're on operating costs. We're looking at $1,100,000. So while the levy amount seems like a lot, it's really just covering our salaries and a portion of their benefits. So, I'd like to take any questions on that.
This year we use the code.
We will, we have to use it this year, what we have left. And that's all, that's already budgeted this year, the salary. Get about 600 at the end of the year, and we're down to 254,000. That's budgeted in salaries, we have to spend. In the beginning of the year, it was like 600,000.
Times we're in, that I kind of envision the township residents not approving the levy. What are your concerns?
First, I wholeheartedly agree with you. It's a horrible time to have to ask people. Never a good time, but in today's economy, it's very tough. Our contingencies would be, stop me if I overstep you. Our contingencies would be we would have to cut back on personnel because that's a big part of our budget. It could cause us to have to rent out and close stations. And that's something that we don't want to do. But we have to operate within the budget that we have. So I'm not sure where else we can cut funding because we've got to have the personnel.
Personnel cost always was.
Fire protection, and I think people realize the need for that. I've said it here and said it before. Not just fire, but the EMS especially, because we're an EMS department that puts out fire occasionally. Most of what we do is taking care of our residents. And when you get to be my age, that becomes very important. I'm hoping that the residents will see the value of that and that they will provide us with they'll provide us with the funding to do that.
Two
Yeah.
things. I guess. I can't picture them wanting to put a levy on for you passed your own levy. One. Secondly, have you guys have any kind of committee out there that's going to promote this? Promote your levy?
We do. We cannot be a part of that committee.
I understand.
There's a gentleman here who has agreed to head up that committee. Actually, our former fire chief, Steve Oger. And who would like to work with him on that committee. Steve will be looking for volunteers, and we think he's a great person to represent the community because he has such a great knowledge of our fire department. And Steve has been Mr. Miami Township since I've met him, and I think that he obviously understands the need. So I can't thank him enough. I certainly encourage anyone who's here or anyone that you know to get with him and give us a hand in getting the word out on how important this is. And Mr. Beck?
Yeah, I just. 6.6 mil.
Will be a renewal of the 3.5 and three new mills. And the total millage, if the new levy would pass, of 9.79 mils. So just to give you an idea of what other communities are paying,
We're talking just fire.
just fire.
So what is our total going to be for fire?
Green Township is currently Delhi has a couple of safety services levies mixed in with their fire levies. So their total millage for safety services is 13.68. City of Harrison is the low person on our, Harrison Township is the low person on our list. Harrison Township contracts with the City of Harrison, and they pay 4.67 mils. City of Harrison, who has an income tax, by the way, pays 10.27 mils. And Whitewater Township, where I live, currently including the WestJet 2 mil levy, pays 15.07. And Whitewater Township is asking for an additional 4.5 mils, bringing the total cost for fire service there to 19.57 mils. So while 9.79 sounds high compared to our neighbors, it's really not.
I think you just getting out the better areas. For how we have to do it.
Yes. We can make a copy of this for you right now. Anybody else want?
I don't want one, but I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Are those apples to apples comparisons? In other words, what a mill brings in, are those equal? Or are those other ones inflated because of low property values?
The mill costs the homeowner the same, no matter where they are, but it brings in a different amount. So for instance, Delhi, their millage would bring in a lot more. I just gave that to you. If they have 10 mills, 10 mills brings in a lot more in Delhi for a budget than 10 mills would here. And 10 mills here brings in a lot more than 20 mills does in Whitewater.
And Whitewater's millage brings in a lot less, correct?
Still costs the homeowners, actually costs the homeowner more.
I'm just
But the
asking,
total
I'm asking-
money that comes
I'm
in
ju-
is
I'm
much
ju-
less.
I'm just asking a question on generating dollars, total dollars, not what it costs the property owner. What I'm asking you is that millage that you just said about 19 is gonna generate a lot less because of the property values. Am I
Correct.
correct?
That's correct.
So is it a real fair comparison for you to come in here tonight and throw out numbers that make it look as if Whitewater is, or anybody else, is apples to apples? It doesn't generate the same amount. And the other issue you've got is how many of those have new millage on based on new valuation?
2, Whitewater and I have to get the list back to the other. And you are correct. The millage is based on the value of the properties in the township. So as you know, 1 mil of the millage, please, brings in a lot less than the township. A mill in Addison brings in a lot less than a mill in Cleves. So, and we guess that it was difficult to come up with a good way to do this. So one of the things that the finance committee here took into account was the current percentage of levy income that comes to the fire department. So currently, Miami Township receives 79% of the total levy funds that come to our fire department from the township. The village of Addison currently contributes 2%. The village of Cleves contributes 11%. And North Bend contributes 8%. In looking at the request for additional funding, and it's decimal points, but with this new levy for the township, the levy income would remain at 78% for the township, 2% for Addison, 12% for Cleves, and 8% for North Bend. So what the finance committee did is rather than in the past, they've asked for the same millage from everybody. But rather than do that, they did what I think was fair in keeping the percentage of that tax levy money that they're asking for at the same percentage.
I understand everything you just said. What you're not factoring in is the ability for villages to generate that money. And I realize that's across the board in Miami Township too. But you're not going to go out of business as a township. A village that has to raise general fund money to pay your tax levy or to put on a safety levy, when you had a consistent pattern of failure within the village of Cleves, I've said this before, and you should know it better than anybody, it may not be possible. So I'm glad that your finance committee sat and met. It's a shame the villages weren't part of those discussions, so they could have heard maybe the conditions of each one of the villages. That didn't happen. I'm not going to go any further than that, but I'm also not going to sit here quietly like this is an altruistic method. That's fair.
I guess my question is, the villages have opportunities for money that the township does not. For example, earnings tax. And for the last 15 years, and over 1 mil less than what the people in the township is paying in the unappropriated. The village is paying a break. And we're still giving a break in this new proposal of 2 mills versus 3 mills. You know, I guess my question is, it costs money to provide the service.
I'm sorry?
The village, it costs money to provide the service.
No doubt about it.
And the village has made a decision 10, 15 years ago that enjoyed Miami Township Fire Department. We're not saying they gotta use Miami Township Fire Department.
still go back to your own fire department. And it's a cost, I mean, you've got a bargain with what the proposal is.
Mr. Beck, nobody's denying it's a bargain. It won't be a bargain for Miami Township if the Village of Cleves goes out of business and you have to absorb all of its debt and repair all of its roads. It is not going to be a bargain. And if you think it is, I would tell you to look a little deeper.
60% of the roads in the village will become county.
Well, you're talking about in the neighborhoods, like, let's say, for example, Westgate, that's going to be a Hamilton County road?
That will all be a county road.
Are you telling me that all the roads in Aston View is going to be? Well, we're talking about overall budgets.
It was a decision that the village made 15 to 20 years.
And 15 or 20 years ago, the situation is different than it is today. So I'm not going to argue that it's a bargain. What I'm saying is you've got to consider the entire picture.
I certainly. Horrible time to have money. And I don't know which of the villages have decided to put a levy on the ballot. My understanding, attending your meeting, was that you were leaning towards not asking for a levy this.
It isn't a question of not asking. We're not asking.
Absolutely so.
I was down last Wednesday and I heard that they were just on. And I think it's prudent to. I don't want to get too deep into the woods with the history of the village.
Could you speak up just a little bit? I'm having difficulty
I
hearing
don't want
you.
to get too deep into the woods on the history of the village, but I am, you know, very familiar with it. There were complaints when the police department was disbanded because nobody went to the residents and said, "This is what we need from the police department. Tell us if it's worth it." I think if you went to residents and said, "This is what it's going to cost to maintain our fire and EMS service," then I would hope the same as I hope the other villages and the township residents will say, "You know what? Yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's worth it."
They are quite aware. It has been mailed to every single resident what the cost of this is going to be. I've not received one email complaining that we aren't putting it on the ballot. I haven't received one phone call. And quite frankly, my phone rings off the hook all the time. So I hear what you're saying. Our stance is we're going to wait and see what your levy does. We are not putting on a levy in a presidential election where the tendency has been levies fail. So it's not going to happen this fall. We didn't put it on the ballot. There's not time enough to put it on the ballot. And we're not going to organize a campaign after 2 or 3 straight levies have failed. Our residents are not ready for that. There was a 7.0 mil levy that we believe never needed to be put on last year's ballot. I'm not going to go into the details of that. So we've already got people that are doubting us. I'm just telling you, don't plan on the Village of Cleves this year.
How are you going to keep villages on this situation?
Both the chief and I attended, we actually attended all 3 villages. Chief and I talked about all 3 villages. We didn't get to the Madison village meeting. They didn't have it on their agenda, but we spoke with the mayor and they both, they have They have very good questions at the village of North
So is
Bend.
it gonna be on the November ballot or not?
They're not renewed. Joe just said that, he checked with the Board of Elections today and they are. They told me they
What
were.
about the commission?
They're not on there. They're not on for the year. And, you know, and Addison has an income tax. So North Bend feels like they have the money to pay them.
What about North Bend?
They have the money to pay them without it. I'm grateful.
North Bend doing renewal plus they have two different pages. They got to.
So I'm giving you, Joe's more up to date on that than me. I haven't thought.
They just pop up.
Today was the, today at 4 o'clock, I was saying, you know, the ballot. I was gonna look at the website tomorrow and see who thought of it. Any other questions, Barry? You look like you have something.
Yeah, if I heard you correct before, our levy right now is not. Am I right or wrong?
The levy income will not cover the, salaries or benefits for our.
Help pay?
Yeah.
I always thought TIF money was not allowed to be used for salaries.
Not the salary, we can pay the benefits.
Did you say benefits and equipment?
Benefits income.
So their health care can come out of the TIF,
Correct.
but not the salaries.
Correct.
And we are currently using that for this year right now, 2024, paying our personnel's wages.
I'll send you.
Is the city.
General fund comes out in 27. So, if this don't pass, then we're gonna have to ask for the general fund.
Right, so it's kick the can down the road.
Right. We're looking to help the general fund. Yeah, so, this don't work. You know, While the fire budget, not all, but some of it does, and for next year, it's just the increase in salaries, you just approved a union contract, and
We also have to remember that on the reevaluation. 27, that part of that's gonna be wiped out.
when you're on, it's like, you understand that situation, just like this. And that is based, these numbers are based on.
So we're 3 months away from an election. Been ringing, any of the residents called in, emailed or anything. People, do you feel people are aware of this situation with them coming in?
I don't think most people, even in the village of Cleves, know what's going on. I don't care how.
So we've got to do some serious education.
It's not because we haven't sent the mailing out to keep them appraised.
That's what I call, become a fire base.
Nobody's arguing that, Joe. Nobody is arguing that.
If you get the call of the lights.
So we got 3 months to do our due diligence to sell. And the plan is Mr. Over to start, correct?
So what,
How many people that help? Exactly.
what we can do. factual information in the newsletter that will come out.
What's the,
Another one of these type meetings, felt like there are people that can't make the evening meetings. And the other thing that Cindy and I talked about, a lot of people don't understand TIF money and restricted fund money and general fund money. So on our website, Cindy and I have invited people to come in and have coffee with the fiscal officer and the administrator. So we have 4 dates that we're going to be around. And if you just want to come in and find out how township money works, how we do the appropriations, just any questions you have about our township money. On September 10th, between 9 and 11, Cindy and I will be here. September 18th, between 3 and 5, which is right before our September trustee meeting. So it should be convenient if you're coming to that. October 8th, between 9 and 11, and October 16th, between 3 and 4. So just and we're going to do our best to get that out there. Not necessarily about levy money, but just township funding in general.
All put down on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll be putting that down on, as the dates come up, we'll be putting it on the board down at the senior center. We could get the board to work a little bit better out here, we can get it out here. Successful with that right now. But we want people to understand how all their money gets spent. Not just
personally, I don't understand.
Uh,
I don't understand how.
You know what? When I took office as a trustee the first time, I've been a member of the party for probably 8 years. I didn't understand it. When I became a trustee, it's very confusing. I've had.
But don't you think that someone needs to attend that little session you're giving before you go try to tell a levy? It would be helpful to know.
Well, first, the group that's going to hopefully promote that. You're going to have a person that understands what can be spent on what more than anything. Volunteered to head up that group because he did it for years. We're glad. If you want to come in before that, Cindy and I are open anytime. Cindy's probably better at it than me. She's only been doing it a few years more than me, 20. But so maybe 22. And she started when she was 16.
It says here it's a town hall style fashion discussion. Along the same lines as what someone was talking about. You brought up the police department, please. I think you recall at that meeting they had, town hall down at police. I asked a question. I said, "You want to get rid of the police? Fine. Can you justify it? Has there been an analysis done? And is it something you will share with the public?" And I believe the mayor at that time says, "Yeah, it never happened." There's a lot of people still are not thrilled about how that was handled. Nothing was given to the public to explain in detail the cost and the advantage of going to the sheriff's department. It just wasn't done. I guess what I'm saying is, the suggestion is that you could put together something and the analysis showing exactly what you did and cover all the bases.
We will be doing that.
Did it for the police department? please.
We have that information for the fire department. Are you asking if I think police should have done that back then? Or,
Well, saying that as an example of what should have,
I would agree,
did.
I would agree. Chief, they're asking me if you want to make any comment on what some of the firefighters and the union members have talked about doing. I know that, Steve's already been in touch with the president of the, firefighter union, and that they're going to work with him on things. So some of the things that our employees can and can't do. If they're hourly employees, like most of our firemen, they can go out on their own and they can campaign. They have the right to do that. They cannot wear Miami Township Fire Department issued clothing. It's recommended that they not wear Miami Township clothing. They can wear their union garb with all the pride that comes with being a member of the firefighters union. They can wear generic fire department. But they can't even go out in uniform and ask people to support them. So our firemen have made a commitment, from what I've heard from them. They will be out talking to their friends and their neighbors. You know, we like to, we want people in the communities to know what our fire department does anyway. I know they have for Fire Prevention Month, which is October. Chief has plans to be out in the subdivisions, and we have things to give to the kids. You know, one of the most important things, if you've ever been on an emergency run with a child, kids get scared. And while they love, we have a country truck. Been up here on Saturday. I invite everybody to come to that. I believe it's at 10 o'clock. And so air care is going to be here. All the fire equipment will be here. The sheriff's department's going to be here. The Cincinnati Reds are going to have their promotional vehicle here. It'll be a great event for kids. But all this stuff is designed because when kids get hurt, we want them to know that the fire department, fire people were there to help them and that they're their friends. So they'll be out and about in the communities, more for the kids, but for the adults too, so the adults can see and get to know the people. It's always nice if you know that person that's coming to your door. I recently had an incident where someone from my neighbor's house got a little kid on a mini bike and crossed their yard and in my yard, hit a brick pillar, broke his feet. The father of the kid was so relieved that I knew the captain from WestJet that was there first, and that I knew the folks with the fire department. It made him feel better, and they kept in touch with him now, just checking up on the kid. So it's really important when we get out in the community to get to know people, because it helps when they need us. So our fire department is going to be on the whole month of October, promoting Fire Prevention Month, and hopefully seeing the kids, more people get to know us that way. So, but I do think you're absolutely right. Anybody that wants to work with Steve on that political action committee to promote the levy, come and see Cindy and I so we can help you understand a little better how the funding works, because it's very important. Because when people hear TIF money and levy money, it's confusing on what it can be spent on. There are a lot of restrictions on what TIF money can be spent on. Right or wrong, that's why the legislature put it together. So,
Where I could just get a clarification on this sheet that they gave us on. Okay. Proposed additional, we want to reduce 3.5. Is there two separate levies now required?
there are two separate levies now for fire.
3.5 and then what the balance at 6.79?
We have a 3.5, and we have a continuing levy of 3.29. Yeah, and
Okay,
for those of you who don't know the difference between a continuing and a new levy, the continuing levy only brings in the amount that you asked for at its inception. So that continuing levy is based on property values when it was put on the ballot. So you get no more money out of that. We could have Trump power, it wouldn't bring in any more than this. So when you do a new levy, you end up with more money. Now, on some levies, the state provides a rollback amount, and I honestly cannot explain that. So if we would, for instance, I haven't looked at this particular levy, but if we ask for a new replacement levy for that 3.29 mils, we may not get as much because we wouldn't get that rollback from the state. I don't mean to confuse people, but it's complicated. That's why you leave those old levies alone. They ask for additional to do. So because it takes more millage to replace the old levy because of the rollback that you get from the state. You want to try to explain rollback any better? Well, I will say that state funding is hard to understand. And Dr. Alton probably would love to stand up here and tell you why the current way we fund education in the state of Ohio is.
Breaking out pipes.
So, but that's for another evening. Like be told over your favorite adult beverage better.
We have the village and actually. No, just like a household or on that.
I don't have per household for them because they didn't provide that to me. I have ours for the,
I'm just curious if they came in this.
no.
That's just another information, I know like, as employees, supposed to go on and down the private. Versus American City, we have about right. I mean, that makes a big difference too. It's totally forced out.
And one of the reasons that we have this, so I can go back and ask workbench that, hey, what's one bill costing your residents?
That's just something. I don't know if they.
Right. I can get her timed out, if you don't use it soon enough. So the total mills of 6.5 mills. With our renewal of 3.5 of new 3. Will be $189 per $100,000 of county officers appraised value. I've already paid 3.5.
But I didn't know what please was.
I don't know how much.
If you get that information,
Matter of fact, it does.
and then I just want to know.
I guess another point that I hear,
The new one is 25, but it's total, so.
is school gonna have a levy this fall?
So we're watching, like everyone else, we're just beginning deficit spending. We have about 12 billion in reserve right now. So the board is watching it closely, trying to make it as long as possible. Nothing this fall. I don't want to speak for the board, I don't think we're going to do it.
Last one. With this proposed additional revenue that we're asking for the fire department, what additional service are they planning if this passes?
Right now, the
Or is it that?
So right now, the increase in levy, that's. This isn't to hire multiple times for the head or anything like that. This is, and,
You can stay up the way it is.
well, it's a staff hire for the as it's been allocated, even prior. What I think, you're just letting go, contract increases, or no increases, whatever else, so, being able to have full staffing, our plan is to get into communities and start small, and I know all this stuff, I like to put it in our department, but get additional staffing, so it's, maybe, additional fire prevention, every CPR lesson, and all this stuff that I think are important. This is just to keep us where we're at. We're down 5, we're down 5. What matter is that after. So this is to keep us, this is an operational function where.
Any more questions about the fire levy? So we're using the proposals in the work construction contract for.
So I'm happy to receive three proposals for the construction of the park. And the three bidders were, I left my glasses in, so I gotta get long arms over here. Solar Site Solutions, they came in at $568,843.70. John P. Tumlin and Sons came in at $559,559.70. And Alpha Construction came in at $553,326.39. That is just for the construction work. For the state purchasing contracts, we are purchasing playground equipment and the amount of $171,928.73. And excuse me, that's Trevor Long with the all-weather turf for $171,938. And landscape structures would be the playground equipment itself, $139,913. The apparent low bidder would be Alpha Construction. total bid with everything, $865,168.12. Only construction, or only site solutions that based in Dayton. Graphic firm has been around for a long time. Fortunately, they were the high bidder. John P. Tumlin and Son is located locally in Whitewater Township. They work here, they work all over, have a very good reputation. Alpha Construction is a fairly new company, but the owner has a lot of construction experience. But Mr. Rosenberger from Fairbecker and I would like for you to do, we want to speak with Alpha Construction just to verify their experience and their work. We tentatively have a meeting set up with them for 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And the trustees would see fit, like you to allow me to execute that contract contingent on a satisfactory pre-construction meeting with them tomorrow morning. Mark and I have talked about this exclusively or extensively, and we see no reason other than the fact that they are a relatively new corporation. They can't perform the work and do a good job. And they're below it.
All right, Mr. Warren.
Yeah. Yeah. If we find an issue, then I'll be back to ask you for different approvals. If we don't find an issue, then we're gonna cut it loose and get this project underway. With your approval.
I'll make a motion for
Okay, well, what if the all agree? Raise them to the next measure. Are we approving this and then are you, what's going on, and if that changes?
I would, honestly, I would like to reconvene if we choose not to, because I want you to understand why we would choose the low bidder. This is for the end of transparent.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve. Alpha Construction. Contingent on reconstruction and all of the building documents.
Mr. Lane?
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence?
And we'll go to the, fire chief.
And I would actually like to discuss that in executive session.
So any more questions for the public? Because we're getting ready to go into executive session. I'll make a motion for it.
I have one question. I couldn't quite hear, but the contract that you just. All right.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
I'm saying is Township with the playing equipment and everything, that's all
That's
included,
all included.
the turf, everything.
$365,160.12. It's all included.
And they plan on starting construction this year?
I would think this year.
I thought with the Gander Mountain construction yesterday, they would be mobilized.
Because I was always under the thought that we had used this year, so we're
We
gonna follow.
already used that, so.
That'll be used at this,
$1,000.
that'll be used at that, the park that we're talking about.
And that's.
Thank you.
Kim, I got a question.
Road water line is being before the park started. What's happening with that?
That would be the west part. West